I know you guys remember back when Arkansas and Indiana both had their anti-gay legislation, but in reality they were trying to make it seem like it was religious freedom bills to allow businesses to discriminate against, maybe a gay couple that's looking to have their wedding and need something catering and maybe need something involved, or even a pizza shop.
Right.
All that needs to be involved with being allowed to just live free and equal. So, remembering that, Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal has decided to point out that he's not going to be soft like those other two governors of Arkansas and Indiana, and he's going to stay firm to his anti-gay bill, which was actually introduced by the state representative Mike Johnson, which allows for some more religious freedom. So to get out ahead of any of the criticism, Bobby Jindal wrote an op-ed in the New York Times for Thursday, and he decided to say, you know what, I'm not soft like those guys. So let's take a look at one of his first quotes from the article. In Indiana and Arkansas, large corporations recently joined left-wing activists to bully elected officials into backing away from strong protections for religious liberty. He went on to say, it was disappointing to see conservative leaders so hastily retreat on legislation that would simply allow for an individual or business to claim a right to free exercise of religion in a court of law. He was disappointed.
Bobby Jindal is flailing as an almost presidential candidate and has been for a while now. He's not well liked in Louisiana. He is not getting any kind of traction in the national conversation for president when people at one time had him in the top 4 or 5 anyway.
What seemed to kill him was when he gave their response to one of Barack Obama's
State of the Union.
Just his awkward walk to his podium, and he was done. It was like the Marco Rubio water thing.
Yeah, but I was going to say, Marco Rubio, the water thing, and look at him. He's getting all of Sheldon Adelson's money.
I think he's leading right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So why does it, I know that's weird. It's weird that walk killed Bobby Jindal, but it doesn't kill Marco Rubio.
Yeah, why anyone would ever do the response to the State of the Union boggles my mind.
It's a loser.
Nobody has ever gotten, oh, well, look at, it all started for her at the response to the State of the Union. Bobby Jindal, though not just not learning from, national politics and national debate, there are 2 other governors, part of his Republican Governors Association, who were chastened. I would say it's different what happened to Mike Pence in Indiana from what happened to Asa Hutchinson in Arkansas. Asa Hutchinson actually was reasonable, smart, and right in the end. Mike Pence did everything he could to not cave, and then he caved. So I think you saw leadership from a governor who has been a problem in the past, let's say, Asa Hutchinson, but he has been, he really showed leadership there. And Bobby Jindal, it's as if he wasn't paying attention at all to what was going on in these other states.
So I think what Bobby Jindal's doing is that he just wants to get some traction in a primary, and that's going to give him a certain amount of traction. So that's the Rick Santorum, I'm going to be against masturbation and get those fucking crazies, right? Because that's 2%. And then, so these you start to build on the crazy. That's what I think he's doing. When I saw him, he's like, well, Mike Pence just kissed off the crazy right-wing base, that 10% that still supports Dick Cheney, but I'm not going to write them off, and that gives me a strong foothold to build. I think that's exactly what he's doing, right?
Yeah, I think he's doing it, but there's so little pie to be claimed by Bobby Jindal, and nobody goes to him for that either. The people that are paying attention to those issues are looking, even if they're not looking at Rick Santorum, they're looking at Mike Huckabee. You have to remember, Mike Huckabee, he won the Iowa caucuses. Yeah. So he's not a stranger to this.
Right.
And then there's Ben Carson, and then there are even the
Rick Perry.
There's Ted Cruz this year.
Oh, that's right.
And so Ted Cruz, who, by the way, did not vote in the Loretta Lynch confirmation hearings today. I don't know if we're going to talk about that at all. Did not vote. Was there in Washington, but then he had to fly home to Texas for a fundraiser tonight. So he didn't vote for the Loretta. All he's been talking about is Loretta Lynch, and he didn't vote. I digress.
Yeah.
So Bobby Jindal doesn't have any ownership of that. He should go for economics. He should point to something that went well in Louisiana if he wants to sort of have a slice of that.
Well, the precedent has been set that it has to be an emotional thing. And actually, I think he's taken a page out of Cruz's book when early in the week when he had a little back and forth. He's going with cat in the hat.
Okay.
He had a back and forth, Cruz did, with John McCain about saying, well, I've been asking John McCain to get some guns in our military bases so they won't get shot up anymore. And he was going through that whole thing to show he's a rebel. He's the new Maverick. I'm Maverick, the Maverick. So now here, these guys have to find a way to go after other Republicans and say they're not assholes enough to be as big of an asshole as I'm going to be.
Right.
So he had to call out Mike Pence and Hutchinson and be like, look at those pussies. What the fuck is wrong with them?
Yeah.
Look at me. I'm better than them. And I don't know how the realization doesn't come to you. That's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah, it might get him somewhere in
everything else-
Louisiana for a minute, but his popularity there is terrible, and he's not running in Louisiana. So yeah, it's curious.
You said that he should talk about some of the things they've done successfully down in Louisiana. Like if you have oysters you want to kill, they're able to kill all your oysters.
Right.
If you want to kill dolphins, they can give them lung cancer. Stuff like that. They're really good at doing off the coast of Louisiana.
Right,
So-
and their people too, by the way.
I mean, and I want to add more of what his op-ed was, because he didn't just attack other Republicans, conservatives that kowtowed, but he went after big businesses because, that always works. The next slide he said, talking about the fact that political leaders in both states quickly cowered amid the shrieks of big business and the radical left should alarm us all.
Yeah, you know, JR, how the radical left and big corporations are such a great pair together. What the F? Are you
They
kidding
team up
me?
all the time to tear
Radical
down.
left. It wasn't the radical left. It was the radical normal people. There's more normal people. That's what it was.
Yeah.
This had the radical left and big corporations, huh? You know how when the Nazis and the Jews got together, remember when they came after us? You got to watch out when the Nazis and the Jews get together. The shit's gonna hit the fan.
They're so used to straw man arguments. They just throw they pit two entities and say, these are our enemies. Don't you hate them?
Right.
Doesn't work out that way. And the last contradiction he had in two parts of this last part of the op-ed that I enjoyed, we should ensure that musicians, caterers, photographers, and others should be immune from government coercion on deeply held religious convictions. Now listen, when he said immune from government coercion on their religious convictions, it means they should be immune, kept from having to do something. The bill does not, as opponents assert, create a right to discriminate against or generally refuse service to gay men or lesbians. I guess unless you're a musician, a caterer, a photographer, or others.
Right.
Then you can do it. So are you immune from it, or are you allowed to
Well, what's the
discriminate?
point of the bill? That's the whole point of the bill, is so you can discriminate against gay people because you have the love of Jesus. And the love of Jesus doesn't allow you to love gay people. It makes you hate them because, you're thinking about what they're doing with their Johnsons. And you don't, that's... Who was the guy Mike Johnson sponsored?
Yeah, see, obviously. And at the end of the day, who's really going to get their wedding catered by a pizzeria? So that's
Chris Christie.
Chris Christie. It's a totally different primary. Yeah.